For people that might not know us, we are two kids that grew up in the greater Richmond area, and we fell in love with Washington, D.C. sports. We grew a passion for the big four up in D.C., the Commanders, the Capitals, the Wizards, and the Nationals. We're going to talk all things about the District of Columbia, and we're also going to touch into some stuff with the Commonwealth of Virginia as well, at least with some college sports as well. Just a little bit of a rundown for Jackson and I's story. We both met at Virginia Tech back in 2020, right during prime COVID, when Jackson was able to come on down to Blacksburg. We were able to connect there through our classes and through our courses, and we both found such a love for this. And we were actually assigned in a class together with Andy Bitter, who you guys might know from Tech Sideline. The assignment was to put a podcast together, and Jackson and I, for that assignment, decided, you know what, let's do it DC focused. And we did a pretty good job on it, so much that Andy Bitter said, this sounds like a legit podcast. And that was 3.5 years ago, Jackson. And now we're finally able to get this on the road and get this our first recording today.
Long time ago. But obviously just a cool idea. And we always talk DC sports, loved it on the phone. We have, close friends that we just love talking DC sports with, along with, like you said, sports from Virginia. I live right near VCU. My brother goes there, so very dialed in there. Went to Virginia Tech, but we also both grew up rooting for UVA. So we got a pretty good grasp on a lot of the state, at least here, like right in central Virginia and a little bit of Southwest Virginia too. But I think it's just a really cool idea, and we love our sports. I think when it comes to sports, always good to have an idea of what we really are dialed in with. And I think, like anybody in the DC area, the Commanders are the big one. Commanders football team, Redskins, whatever you want to call them, very dialed in there. I mean, that's going to be a big topic. I expect that to be probably the biggest topic that me and Andy are talking about here, especially with them being good, having a franchise quarterback, which we haven't been able to say since, I don't know, 6-month period in 2012. So I expect a lot of Commanders talk, but past that, we're both super dialed in on the Caps. I know that that's going to be a big topic, and that's exactly what our first big topic is going to be about here today. But especially when it comes to the Wizards and Nats, I lack a little bit more. But Andy can definitely make up with that, at least for the Wizards.
Oh, that's for sure, Jackson. I mean, it's been a tough year for watching the Wizards, but actually, the last 2 years have been just up and down roller coaster with seeing some of the fan favorites go, but a young, exciting core that this Wizards have. We'll talk about the completion of the season coming up down the road in the next few weeks, but you're spot on with that Capitals talk. They're going to be such a great story to talk about this 24-25 season. Obviously, with the goal record, which we'll dive into a little bit later on. But the Nationals are also, I feel like they've all kind of graduated into now this status of being Major League Baseball players. When the trade went down for Juan Soto in 2022, we were waiting for a year like this when we can finally see the Nationals really go to work. So it's going to be fun to see what they can do this summer. I mean, you hit the spot on there with the Commanders. Every fall Sunday was such a fever dream, and it was an exciting ride. This offseason is going to be something we haven't really experienced. The full offseason of coming out and seeing if the Commanders are going to be contenders for the next opportunity at it. But we're excited for it, and I think that this is something that Jackson and I feel very confident in. We went to school for sports journalism degrees. We've also picked up some professional opportunities since we graduated from Virginia Tech back in 2022. So I think we're just going to be a really fun podcast, a chance for a lot of DC sports fans to interact with as well. And we're really excited to see what this is able to become.
I think one of the big things is this is just such a perfect time to do something like this, and for us to kind of pull the trigger and start something like this. Longtime fans are both 25 years old, so we kind of grew up in different eras for each team. We missed out on some of those early eras of the Commanders with Joe Gibbs a little bit, and then kind of were coherent at the end. We saw John Wall, but only remember some of Gilbert Arenas. We were in that kind of weird mix, and right now is just the perfect time because it's such an exciting time for Washington. And that's one of the big things me and Eddie talked about with getting this off the ground is you look at the Wizards and they're terrible, but they have a lot of young talent. Lottery's coming up. You could end up with Cooper Flag. Who knows? Don't know what's going to happen there. The Nats, ton of young talent. Will it mesh together? But they've been fun. They have the number 1 overall pick. Maybe going to go with Ethan Holiday. Commanders. Whoa. Like, a lot going on there. Jaden Daniels. Stuff we obviously never have seen, expected, and just can't believe is happening. And then you have the Capitals. The Capitals. Thought maybe we'd have a bad team by now. Hasn't happened. They're number one in the East right now as we're starting this podcast. And we're starting this podcast on the perfect day. It's April 7th, 2025. Couldn't have picked a better day to start a DC podcast.